and went out to the Americas or was out there in the ocean. Unfortunately, 40-something years later, when the Tainos in Puerto Rico and in Cuba didn't want to work for the Spaniards, they went back into the western part of Africa to the Ivory Coast and took people against their will, and brought them over. But those individuals, thank God, they also brought with them the rhythms that we listen to today. I saw some little boy playing on a box earlier, and I don't know if it was his dad, but he was playing a little better. Oh, there you are. And it was great to see that. And those boxes are a lot of the origins of the music of what we dance to today. Because what happened on those boats is that there were crates and stuff, and the African slaves would start playing on that because it reminded them of their home and of their family. But the Spaniards wouldn't let them play unless they became Christian. That was the deal. You become Christian, we let you play one day a week on the boxes. So they said, hell yeah, okay, we believe in Jesus. And well, the reality is if you go to a person's home that's part of the Yoruba religion or from Africa, you will find that on the top is the Virgin Mary and Jesus and all that kind of stuff. But on the bottom of the table, you'll see Chango, or you'll see Yamaya, which is the ocean. And I'm not a religious kind of person, but I respect them all. I have a saying that religion sometimes is for people that are scared of hell, and spirituality is for those of us that have already been there. And most of us have lived our own hell. So for me, God is G-O-D. I use a lot of acronyms. I have a lot of free time on the airplane, so some people do crossword puzzles, I do acronyms. And for me, God is G-O-D, good orderly direction. Something that gives me a spiritual kind of power to be able to be a better human being than the one that I was for 17 years doing the drugs and alcohol that I did. I just want to be a peaceful person today. And if I can pass this on to another child so that they don't have to go through what I went through, and each of us has that power to do it. One of the stories that you hear today, if you pass that on, that's one child that we keep off the streets. That's one more child that will keep us alive. And I believe that every child that I put on a stage is one less child that's going to be on a street corner. And we each can do that because inside of us there's a little boy or a little girl that just wants to be loved. And again, if it wasn't for those Africans that brought us these beautiful rhythms of all these kinds, sometimes we just think about that 1, 2, 3, and 5, 6, 7, and all that kind of stuff, and lady styling, and all that is beautiful. That's all the essence of the dance. But if we just remember the roots and remember the basics, I see so many people, not here so much, but around the world, doing all that crazy stuff, and they have no timing whatsoever. They have no feeling of what the basics are. And without the basics, we can't get to the next step, and it's so much fun. So eventually what ended up happening is those Spaniards went to the islands, brought the Africans, and those elements came together. But if you go to Cuba, on the Oriente side of Cuba, on the southern part of Cuba, or in the town of Loíza in Puerto Rico, that is where the Africans were based at. In San Juan in Puerto Rico, or in Havana in Cuba, that's where the Spaniards mixed with the locals. And the locals that went to bed with them thought they were better than anyone else because their color, their skin was a little different, and they had that influence of the Spaniards. So later on in life, as we get into the late 1800s, a lot of people were dancing in exclusive clubs in Cuba, and they were dancing what's called the danzón. The danzón is the waltz, so they were very aristocrat, and I'm better than. And on the Oriente side, Santiago, where La Lupe, Los Papines, Muñequito de Matanza, some great musicians would come from in Cuba, and some that I'll mention in a second. Even Celia, that was called Oriente, or that was more of the eastern southern side of the island. And that's where anyone that was of African descendancy and not mixed, that's where they lived. Because in Havana, they had a fear that if you brought one drum in, or you let one of those individuals with African background in, they were all coming. And so they kind of kept the drums out, and so they danced more of the danzón. But in the late 1800s and early 1900s, it was 4 gentlemen led by a man that his name is really important. It's called Ignacio Piñero. Ignacio Piñero, a name you probably never heard before, but he's known as the father of the son, S-O-N. So the song came from danzón. Danzón, son. Pretty simple, right there. And with that, he came with 4 soldiers down to the Oriente part, and they called themselves El Oriente, El Cuarteto Oriental. The 4 guys Oriente. They were soldiers that were in that area. And then they added 2 more musicians called Septeto Nacional de Cuba. And they had 1 trumpet, and he was the creator of a sound called a song. So this is an idea, this is an example of what the song is, or a song was at that time. So they had a guitar, 1 trumpet, and you can bring it down. And so they danced it very, very simple, and no fancy. And if the guy wanted to get any type of fancy, you'll see it in some movies or some video, he'll get down, he'll put his leg out, and the lady would lead him around, okay? And it was really, really beautiful. No knocking into anybody, and it was and they felt it from here, so a couple years, this is around 1913, 1914. In 1918, he created another song and he added another trumpet player. And that, what ended up happening is they created another sound and established a song that's called Échale Salsita. Put some sauce in it. Now, it's not the sauce like we know salsa today to be, but it is supposedly documented as the first song with the word salsa in it. Because the bongo player way in the background went, salsa. You're going to hear very, very faint in the background doing that. But in the midst of it, the song is, how many of you understand Spanish? Some of us